Mark Slapinski, who some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not. I didn't know who he was until I saw his rather weird post. And he says in this post, Pierre Poilievre is an economic genius with master-level oration abilities. He could have been a professor or a TV host, but he chose to serve the Canadian people instead. Remind me, do you still support Poilievre? First and foremost, and I need to break these down really quickly before I get into the video. Just number one, the fact that he said that he could be a professor is the most ridiculous thing ever. Poilievre barely graduated his undergrad, and even then, he didn't pursue a master's, he didn't get a PhD. He would not be eligible to be a professor. It simply is not possible. So Mark Slapinski, I'm sorry, but your glaze must stop. Now let's watch this video and see how much of an economic genius he is, according to Mark.
I have to tell you, there are an incredible number of people who are just scraping by. I am amazed at how inflation continues to march along and run over everyone in its path. Yesterday I was in Camrose. I spoke to a Boston Pizza waitress. Her name is Rhonda, single mom. She says every month it gets worse and worse and worse. The price is rising faster than her wages, and she's struggling. She's just fighting to feed her kids and pay her rent. Down the road, I was talking to a gentleman. He is an oil worker. He actually has to rent a spare room or a couch in a mobile home that costs
Okay, so right off the bat, we're going to watch the rest of the video. Right off the bat, he's trying to do this thing where he pretends he's like super jacked, wears a t-shirt, very casual, wears his sunglasses, trying to be this cool, relatable guy, you know what I'm saying? I don't really know why he's doing this. He has an election to campaign for, which, by the way, there's like 200 people running in that by-election. And I will show you guys something in a second that shows that he is quite desperate at the moment.
$400, that's all he can do. And this is the direct result of government. Make no mistake, there is only one cause of inflation, and it is government. Government creating more cash to fund its irresponsible spending that inflates the cost of everything. The banks and the bureaucrats do way better as they inflate the resources that they have and the value of their assets. And of course, the working people who pay the bills and make the stuff that we need, they are...
Okay, first of all, just going back on this point.
Fund its irresponsible. Only one cause of inflation.
Yeah, one cause of inflation is government.
And it is government. Government creating more cash to...
This guy does not even know how politics works, which is really sad considering the fact that he's been in it for like 25 years. The Central Bank of Canada, the Bank of Canada, is independent of the government. It's not the government that creates cash, Pierre. It is a central bank, if anybody does create cash. The government cannot create cash. Mark Carney cannot create cash. So, right off the bat, he just loses all credibility. But according to Mark Slapinski, he could be a professor. So I think we should listen to Mark and continue listening to this rather ridiculous video, but we'll watch it to the end.
Are the ones who suffer. This system is broken, and the people are breaking under the pressure of it. We need to end inflationism. Inflationism imposed by Mark Carney, by central bankers like him, by big government, by overspending. It is crushing the working class. The only way to change it is to slash the cost of government, stop the money printing, bring in sound money that preserves its value, low taxes that rewards hard work. And instead of creating more cash, we need to create more what cash buys, grow more food, build more homes, produce more energy so that people have bigger paychecks, that they keep those paychecks after tax, and that the money from that after-tax income preserves its value and rewards the people who spend it wisely. That is what I'm fighting for, and it has been the purpose of my political life. If you agree, back me up in the Battle River Crowfoot by-election and join our national conservative team to bring real change that puts you back in charge of your money and your life.
So he forgot his lines a few times, which is pretty rough, first and foremost. Second of all, and I don't want to go through every single little thing that he mentioned because, half of it is kind of ridiculous. and I don't need to address it. But first of all, he did mention inflationism and said we need to stop inflationism. And again, like I said, he doesn't understand economics because he probably hasn't ever taken even a high school level economics course in his life. Inflationism is a real thing, and it's a philosophy, some would call it, that has been in place and that has helped nearly every single economy in the Western world grow at a rather steady pace. And what I mean by that is, especially Canada. Canada has experienced inflationism. I don't know if I used that term correctly in that context, but anyways, they have experienced inflationism. There you go. They've experienced inflationism in the sense that every year inflation slightly goes up, and that's just natural. It's economic growth. It does contribute to economic growth, and it's just a natural part of an economy. If you don't have any inflation at all, and God forbid you have deflation or something even more ridiculous, disinflation, your economy will not be strong. And again, like I said, Pierre does not understand how the economy works. He thinks that Mark Carney is the one that prints cash out of thin air, unless he is actually referring to Mark Carney back during the time that he was the governor of the Bank of Canada, in which case he is stuck about 16 years or 17 years in the past. So again, I mean, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but Mark Slapinski is a huge fan of Pierre's. And if we just take a look at his ridiculous tweets, you could tell what kind of person he is. He seems to be just a very bigoted person who hates pretty much anybody except for himself and Pierre Poilievre. And again, like, this is just silly. Pierre Poilievre is once again winning, all caps, and projected to win even more. The by-election is in Pierre Poilievre's pocket, with a 99% chance he will win. Are you excited to see Poilievre return to Parliament this fall? And it's sad because these weird A or B things with yes or no, and I really am curious to see who actually responds to him, because that's probably another phenomenon in of itself. The people that actually do respond to his ridiculous tweets. And this is even more ridiculous. I mean, just look at this guy. The Queen of Alberta, a.k.a. Danielle Smith, is calling for jail, not bail, for violent offenders. The federal government is slow in responding. Do you agree that violent, repeat criminals need to be held in prison? Like I mentioned before, and, has been covered by many other people, and other than myself, obviously. Mark Carney and his government are doing an incredible job of trying to pursue this policy of reducing bail, or the threshold, increasing the threshold for bail and reducing this sort of catch and release system, or the prevalence of it. But it seems like Mark Slapinski thinks that the Queen of Alberta, who he calls, he refers to Danielle Smith as, again, next level just silliness. This guy cannot be taken seriously. But he thinks Danielle Smith is the one that really has pursued this policy, which again is not the case. Now, there is some more stuff to cover. So one thing, really quickly, this is probably the last thing we'll cover, but it is a pretty big deal because, again, it just goes to show that Pierre Poilievre is completely losing it. He has no followers, quite frankly. Will most likely lose his leadership review, and will also, there's a chance that he may lose his by-election, which, am I counting on it? Not really, but it could happen. And I wouldn't really be that surprised if it did happen. So, if we look at the headline right here, Poilievre says Carney's moving in the wrong direction. And by wrong direction, it means for pretty much everything that he doesn't agree with. He pledges to legalize pipelines, which, again, just such bad wording. The guy, I mean, aside from the fact that he doesn't know economics, he doesn't really know grammar too well either. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says Prime Minister Mark Carney's development agenda is stalled, and he's promised to legalize pipelines through new legislation to speed things up. Pipelines are not illegal. Again, just a lie that he's spreading. And unfortunately, there are some people, that are misinformed that will take this statement, he wants to legalize it, and they'll actually take it at face value and think that pipelines are actually illegal due to the Liberals, which is completely false. Anyways, let's continue. Poilievre said his party's Canadian Sovereignty Act, if passed, would ensure 2 pipelines, a new LNG project, and a road to Ontario's Ring of Fire will have begun construction by March 14, the 1-year anniversary of Carney becoming Prime Minister. Not a single major pipeline or natural gas facility, a new one, has been identified for approval by the Carney government, and we're going in the exact wrong direction. And he said that in Calgary, which I don't know what he's doing in Calgary because his riding is not in Calgary. So, again, very interesting that he's not really focused on what matters, because what's happening right now, to be quite honest with you, what's happening right now is that he seems to be focusing on the national front when he should be focusing on his local level, because quite frankly, nothing is guaranteed in politics. We saw that in his Carleton riding. He thought he would win. He thought it was like an easy thing. And guess what? He lost. And it would appear that he's doing the exact same thing right now. Now, I'm aware that, Battle River Crowfoot was like 85% conservative. It's probably the most conservative riding in all of Canada. But like I showed you guys before, I showed this in the last video, there was a poll that was shown on 330 Canada, or an aggregate poll, I should say, and showed Poilievre dropping to 73%, so about a 12-point dip. So nothing is guaranteed, pure. Anyways, let's continue. We need to get building now, and that's why the Conservative proposal for Sovereignty Act will take action immediately, which, again, I don't know why he's proposing this, because he's not even in Parliament, first of all. Second of all, don't focus on the national front. We need to win your own election. That's just my advice. And they point this out, CBC, good for them. In order for Poilievre to be in the House of Commons in the fall to introduce the bill, he will first have to win his by-election Alberta's riding of Battle River Crowfoot on August 18th, which he probably will have a difficult time doing. They include, so the proposed legislation repackages many conservative campaign promises, blah, blah, blah. They include repealing Bill C-69, with former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney dubbed the No More Pipelines Act. Again, Jason Kenney is a guy who's veered into sheer irrelevancy and is just trying to do anything he can to try to become relevant again, and Pierre seems to be latching on to the statement of no more pipelines, which again is not true. Scrapping the West Coast oil tanker ban, killing industrial carbon tax, which has been lowered, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Eliminating the electrical vehicle mandate versus single-use plastics ban. I mean, some of these things are interesting, for sure. I mean, let's be honest, we can all pretty much test this. When you're drinking, Tim Hortons or McDonald's or whatever, and you have the paper straw, you're like, oh crap, I don't know if this thing's really going to hold up. I will say this, plastic straws do hold up. I was in the States recently, and yes, they do hold up still. They're still pretty solid. But again, the environmental concerns tend to outweigh the reasoning as to why we would use the plastic straws in the first place, because we can search for other alternatives. That's not the point. Let's keep focusing on the task at hand. So Poilievre said that the Sovereignty Act would also include a campaign promise to exempt people from the capital gains tax when they reinvest the proceeds of investment in a Canadian company. I think this is actually a very good policy. Like, genuinely, objectively speaking, that's probably a very solid policy that most Canadians would probably be in line with. Like, I actually do think this is a very, very solid policy. Is there anything else that's interesting? Not really. So you guys get the point. He does seem to be focusing on a national level, which, to be honest with you, I don't think he should do, because he should probably focus on winning his riding first. But nonetheless, he did make that cringy, weird video where, he's just pretending to be this macho man walking outside in the middle of nowhere and talking about economic policy, which he has zero clue about. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will say, though, while he does not have any clue about economic policy, whichever advisor did craft up this policy should be given some credit, because I think it's a pretty solid one. We can reasonably, come to the conclusion that Pierre probably wasn't the guy that came up with this policy. But anyways, it's a good policy, and I think the Carney government, if they can, should try to propose it, if possible, because Pierre is not going to ever be in power. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Make sure to like and comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We make some videos pretty often about Canadian politics and other. I actually will have a video dropping soon. It's a pretty interesting one. It's actually U.S. politics, so stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you guys very much, and I'll see you all in the next one.